Many special treasures here in Brown County. Long ago, some of these people and places existed. Part of the lore and the land of Brown County is worked up with its wonderful people. Let's not forget these individuals. I remember scenes from many decades ago of being in Bean Blossom, visiting the fruit and veggie market right there on the corner, and buying some fresh produce throughout the week. Going over to McDonald's, IGA, really enjoyed that store, and talking to Jack McDonald and his youngsters. One day I saw a large red Coca-Cola canoe hung up near the ceiling for a promotion. I said, Jack, if you get rid of that canoe ever, my father used to be vice president of Coca-Cola in Indianapolis. I'd love to buy that from you. Would it be possible that you could take, $200 or $300 for it? He said, I'll make you a deal. It's going to be yours at $200. And that canoe went home with me eventually. I enjoyed it so much. Right there in Bean Blossom, Joe Trover, great big guy, reminded me of the star of Fiddler on the Roof. With his mat knife, he created landscapes in a small cabin there in Bean Blossom. He hung a painting in the front of the St. David's Episcopal Church, and that painting was there for about 10 years, right there in the front hall. Beautiful painting from Joe Trover. Carl Brummett used to be a Bean Blossom individual that a lot of people talked about and enjoyed talking to and kibitzing with. He had the speedway behind his shop down in the valley. The cars would be pretty loud on the weekends as they went around the track. I got a chance to meet Bill Monroe and Birch Monroe, his brother, founder of Bean Blossom's Bluegrass Festival, and known throughout the country for the bluegrass music. Even the highway now is named the Monroe Highway. Doc Brester, the vet there in Bean Blossom, lots of cars would be parked there, and Doc Brester was always valued as the best and actually inexpensive vet in the area. There was also not just people in the Bean Blossom area, but there was gold nearby in Bean Blossom Creek. Twice, placer mining companies tried to get contracts to dig up the creek and run it through sluiceways, but some of the environmental laws wouldn't let them do that. Bean Blossom's also famous for its covered bridge and Covered Bridge Road, not too far away. So when we think about Brown County, we sometimes think about the connection between people and place. So Bean Blossom is one of those places. Another I really treasured was Helmsburg. I used to buy blocks of ice in Helmsburg for our ice box when we did not have electric power. The Ratabush gas station fixed my car many times, pumped gas into my car. I lived back a road that was filled with ruts, and he fixed my muffler usually by cutting it off, maybe a little shorter each time. I also bought used tires from him for $2 a piece. My dad wondered why I went through 35 tires in one summer. Of course, those tires were not brand new, were they? Going over to the hardware store with Goldie Chitwood being the boss, she would always be talking to her husband, Clarence, and asking him to do this, do that, in a sharp voice. And they had a wonderful worker there by the name of Chelsea. Used to come out to our house, perhaps bring the LP tanks, liquid propane tanks. Goldie would always want to sell us two of everything. She'd say, "Want two? Do you want two?" I think she made most of her profit from that second sale. Walking over to the country store behind the hardware store with the wooden floors, and they were almost surprised when you'd offer cash because they kept a long book of people who had IOUs. And there on the corner was a little office, progressive person by the name of Bud Snyder. Now that small building is a little convenience market, but Bud Snyder had his office there. The sawmill there at Helmsburg was also an important part. Other people that were in the Brown County area that I got to know, Tom Tilton, he used to have snakes there in Nashville, and the big problem is the biggest snakes would often get loose. Of course, we kept it quiet till we found the big snake again. Pods Miller, Steve Miller's father ran the pharmacy, which is now the Hobnob. We used to go in there and get pharmacy items for our dairy goats or for ourselves. And we would get sulfur and other kinds of products that he'd keep in glass jars. So he was our pharmacist, which worked out real well. One thing we don't understand here in Brown County is we can become nationally famous and not even know it. Carol Bridges up on Indian Hill Road had the Nine Harmonies Feng Shui School. She had Sean Zenja, David Kennedy, Lin Young come out to the area. You have to remember that in the late 90s, about 100 book titles were in the Bloomington bookstores about Chinese Feng Shui. Nashville and Brown County were the center of the entire Midwest. Students from Illinois, Michigan, Ohio drove all the way over for advanced conferences. The Lotus Tuan Feng Shui, something that I was working with, was very important and worked with Carol Bridges. The Feng Shui Journal, which was a national publication, several articles were written by Carol Bridges, a local from Indian Hill Road. I wrote a couple of articles for the National Feng Shui Journal, and we both were taking half-page ads. So Brown County was the center of that unusual skill. The Ladybug Dairy Goats were something that I was acquainted with and worked with, and my children worked with. We went to every state fair for about 10 years, including a route of state fairs from the Illinois State Fair to the Wisconsin State Fair, down to the Kentucky State Fair, up to Indiana, and then over to the Ohio State Fair, week after week after week, showing championship dairy goats. You see, in Brown County, we have wonderful places and wonderful people all mixed. Many times we don't even realize all the treasures we have until they're gone. But they're really not gone. They're still in the air. They're still in the mist. They're still in the blue mist of the hills. Brown County forever. These people forever. These small villages forever. They'll always be on our mind.